Hey, what up everyone? First of all, I want to start with a big thank you to all of you for receiving the GP Barrel Guide so well. I think we had 1.5k views after just 6 days, and considering that this was like my first real YouTube video, I'm absolutely blown away. And also the response I got was amazing. We have very great like ratio and everything. So yeah, that is super motivating for me to make more content for you. And today's video I'm excited for because I think it's something that isn't really talked about a lot, and I haven't found anything like this yet, so I decided to make it. And it's going to be the best champions to duo queue with as GP. I'm going to talk about every lane, so we go top lane, ADC, support, mid lane and jungle, and I'm just gonna give my opinion on a bunch of champions and why they are great to play with. And yeah, we're gonna start with top lane. The first champion for top lane is going to be Malphite. Malphite is amazing for GP because he is one of the best setup champions you can get. He has an amazing ult that just basically makes it so that you can land a free barrel on everyone who is caught in that ult. And he's also a big frontline, which is something GP really wants. You don't want to be the focus target of everyone, so having like 1 or 2 tanks in your team is always nice. And yeah, he's just an amazing setup champion. And if he goes AP or AP hybrid, you can just pretty much 2-shot everyone who is caught in Malphite ult in combination with a big barrel. So yeah, definitely a great champion to play with. Next is Camille. Camille is great because her ultimate makes it so that one important focus target can be destroyed, especially in combination with your ult. Like for example, if they have a super fat Twitch. If Camille just ults Twitch and you follow up with your ult, he takes a lot of free damage, and also your barrels can pretty much cover the whole circle of Camille's ult. So yeah, it's definitely a great champion to focus down one target. And another great bonus of Camille is that Camille is, at least in the current patch, we are currently in 11.17, she's super meta and super strong on her own. So even if you have a bad game and the Camille is a great game, she can still 1v9 it. So yeah, having this in consideration is also kinda important. Wukong is both a great peel and a great setup. So the great thing about Wukong is that he can obviously open up a fight for you and knock a lot of people up with his ult, which again results in a free barrel. But also, if someone like Fat Irelia is attacking you, Wukong can do a very good job, since he has 2 knockups nowadays, to just keep dangerous enemies away from you. Because his ult is like a channeled ability, if he's in between you and an enemy and he's currently spinning, the enemy cannot reach you unless they're unstoppable. And that is definitely a very nice tool for peel. And also Wukong brings some very good damage on his own, so he can also be kinda of a follow-up champion. So yeah, he's kinda a jack of all trades. He doesn't do anything the best, but he does it all. So that is also a very nice duo queue partner. Next on the list is Gnar. And Gnar is one of the best setup champions in the game. Gnar has an amazing opening with his Mega Gnar. If he just jumps in and instantly smashes like 3 champions in the wall, he can lock them down for quite a long time, because he also has a follow-up stun on his W. And it just results in you being able to land free barrels. Gnar is a champion that on his own can completely carry a fight and even turn around fights. Like if you get chased down in a like 3v5 situation, and Gnar finds a good opening, you and him can absolutely obliterate the enemy team. So yeah, Gnar, one of the best setup champions, definitely a very valuable partner to have. Rumble is a champion that is great for both setup and follow-up. His ulti can either make sure that the enemy dies after you hit a barrel, or that you have an easier time hitting your barrels. His ulti is a bit slow, and also it is kinda instant. It has a very big AoE radius, so getting out of his ult takes a while, unless you have a big dash, but dash champions are difficult to hit anyways. And Rumble is also a champion that can carry on his own if the game isn't going too well for you. So yeah, I can definitely recommend to play with Rumble. For the last champion for top lane, I'm gonna talk about Shen. Shen is especially a great pure champion for obvious reasons. His ult is a massive shield, which can save you out of very, very difficult situations. But he can also set up your barrels. Not as good as the other champions mentioned, but his E flash combo is still very strong and very difficult to dodge. But it has a lot of cooldown due to it being very reliable on flash, and his E on his own is not as good as, for example, Malphite ult. But he still brings, as I said, a lot of peel. His anti-auto attack field is also very, very good, because your biggest danger later on are usually champions that either dive you, like Irelia, Camille, who are kinda countered by the auto attack field, but also ADCs. So yeah, definitely a very nice utility champion and a good partner. So those are all the top laners I want to talk about. In my opinion, the best top laners out of the ones I mentioned are Malphite, Gnar and Rumble. Alright, let's move on to ADCs. ADCs fulfill two major roles when it comes to, yeah, being a great partner for GP, and that is setup and follow-up. For setup, I'm gonna start with Ashe. Ashe is the best setup ADC in the game. Ashe has permanent slow, which makes barrels easier to hit. She also has the vision tool, which is nice to have, you know, having vision is always valuable, but obviously the ult, being one of the best single target CC tools in the game, is just super valuable. If you hit an Ashe ult followed by a barrel into a Death's Daughter ultimate, pretty much every squishy is instantly dead. And the great thing is that you have global presence as well, so if Ashe hits a global ult followed by your global ult with a Death's Daughter, you can really deal a lot of unexpected damage. And if you coordinate it well, which, you know, since this is a duo queue partner game, you're probably well coordinated, you can set up cross-map ganks for pretty much everyone, and while it's high risk, it can be high reward. Another good setup ADC is Varus. Varus has not as much setup potential as Ashe, but still can be quite valuable, especially with the potential of hitting multiple targets with a root. His ult is obviously the main reason why he's a great setup champion. Hitting the ult on only one target is already great, and realistically it usually doesn't hit more than 2 targets, but it has the potential to really root like the entire enemy team, and if that happens you get some very massive setup for your barrels. But yeah, I think Ashe is a better champion, but Varus is definitely one that I want to mention. The next champions are going to be follow-up ADCs, and I want to start with Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa is amazing. Kai'Sa basically is like a cleanup service for you. So let's say you hit a massive barrel on the backline and you leave them with like 300-400 health. Kai'Sa can then ult into the backline and clean up everything you left on low HP. So that alone can win you a fight within like 2 seconds. And Kai'Sa is a super strong champion as well. I mean, all ADCs have the potential to carry if the game doesn't go well for you. But I think Kai'Sa especially is one of the strongest ADCs at the moment. So yeah, having a Kai'Sa is always good. Also, she brings hybrid damage, which is also a very important thing to have. If you play GP mid lane like I do, you often run in the situation that someone is kind of forced to play something AP, and having a Kai'Sa with a lot of hybrid damage is definitely very good to have, because she can kind of cover the whole AP problem you can get from playing mid lane GP. The last ADC I want to talk about is Twitch. Twitch is another great cleanup champion. So just picture this, you play GP obviously, you hit a massive barrel, you again put like a few champions to low HP, and now you just have Twitch come out of invisibility together with ult, Red IRL playlist in the background, and he just obliterates everyone. Twitch is slightly worse than Kai'Sa in my opinion, because there's always going to be the issue of, is he able to reach the enemy that you put to low HP? Like, if you hit a barrel on a Syndra and a Varus, and they are both on like 200 HP, but there's a big Irelia in between you and them, then Twitch, once he goes out of invisibility, is probably dead. Kai'Sa doesn't have that problem. Kai'Sa can just ult through and instantly clean up. So yeah, I think Twitch is a very good pick, but not as good as Kai'Sa. Out of all the ones I mentioned, in my opinion, the best ADCs to play with are Ashe and Kai'Sa. The next category is going to be support champions. Here we have everything around the board. We have champions that can peel, we have great setup champions and amazing follow-up champions. Support is, in my opinion, the second best role you can duo with, because they just have such strong tools to enable you in multiple different ways. So it gives a lot of versatility when it comes to champions that synergize well. I'm going to start with two champions at once, Karma and Lulu. They both kind of fulfill the same role of giving you movement speed and more tankiness and shield. Lulu is a bit more on the supporty saving you side, while Karma is a bit more on the I can also slap side. But generally speaking, they are very, very similar. They both have CC. I think Lulu has better CC in the form of Polymorph, one of the strongest CC abilities in the game. Lulu ulti is also amazing to have, because she can just save you from assassins diving you, and it's just a lot of HP you get, so you just get natural tankiness. But Karma gives a lot of move speed, she supports the whole team, she has a bit more damage, so she can also follow up your barrels and maybe secure 1 or 2 kills. But yeah, in general they are both kinda similar. Next is a champion that can peel and set up, Alistar. Alistar can knock away people that try to jump on you, but he can also open fights with WQ combo and make sure that you can hit some free barrels. So yeah, Alistar, very simple, but very effective as well. He can be your frontline if you need one. So yeah, Alistar is great. In my opinion, the best champion when it comes to enhancers or also kind of pure champions is Yuumi. Yuumi has massive heals. The ult can be used to set up barrels for you, and she gives you a lot of AD by just sitting on you. So yeah, Yuumi is definitely a champion that you can kinda abuse and pretty much 2v8 games. It is actually kinda nasty. So yeah, if you have a Yuumi, good job, you win. The next champion is Rakan. Rakan is absolutely amazing to have for setup and peel. Rakan can pull everyone together with his ult and then knock them up. It gives you a lot of time to hit barrels. Also, he kind of pulls enemies together, which is always an issue for other champions, because if they are spread and get stunned, it's still a bit more difficult to hit ultis, or not ultis, but barrels. And Rakan makes it so that they kind of walk together and then he knocks them up. So Rakan is absolutely amazing to have, one of the best champions to do a Q with. Leona is kind of like Rakan without the peel, but therefore massive damage. So Leona can lock down a single enemy, or if you're lucky with a good ult, even multiple enemies. Leona is basically a little bit like, hey, they have a fat Twitch, Leona goes in and Twitch is dead. So yeah, not as good in AoE, but locking down single targets, absolutely amazing. Leona is currently one of the best supports in the patch this video is made in. So yeah, you will often play with Leonas, and it is amazing. They can really carry fights for you and basically let you hit free barrels. Braum is also great for peel and setup. His ult is absolutely massive for setting up AoE barrels for you. And obviously his amount of peel he has with his shield and giving you stats is also fantastic. So yeah, Braum is up there. Also, proccing his stun is easy because your Q counts towards it. And Braum, I mean, Braum is just a cool dude as well, you know, like, everyone loves Braum. I'm going to talk about two champions again, Sona and Seraphine. I'm only going to talk about Seraphine, but pretty much everything I say also kind of applies to Sona. So Seraphine has an amazing ult, which can be used to set up barrels perfectly for you. Seraphine also brings some healing and shielding, and, you know, decent damage. And I think out of the two, Seraphine is just better overall. Mainly because of the ult. Like Seraphine's ult, if she hits 2 or 3 people, they walk towards you. And that makes hitting barrels so much easier. And I don't know, it just feels like Seraphine is a better version of Sona, especially from the eyes of GP. Let's talk about Bard. Bard is on a level with Rakan when it comes to setup, but I prefer Bard. So the Bard ult is probably one of the best tools to hit free barrels in the game. Obviously you have to get the timing right, but if you know the timing of Zhonya's, you also know the timing of the Bard ult. And it just makes it so you hit absolutely free barrels. It is amazing. You have a lot of time to set up the barrels. It is just super, super strong. Also, Bard roams a lot. Also, Bard brings great damage. And his Q can also be a 2-target stun, which, you know, having a 2-target stun on a Q spell that is kinda spammable is amazing for GP. It gives you so much chances to just hit free barrels. It is fantastic. Bard is definitely up there. For follow-up support, I want to talk about Pyke. Pyke is amazing because his E can kinda set up, so having a Pyke E forward and then flash behind the enemy, it's super difficult to react to it, and also it can hit multiple people, so it can be a very great setup, but obviously the follow-up potential is amazing. If you hit a crit barrel and enemies are in Pyke execute range, they are slowed for 80% and Pyke can just hit ulti very, very easily. He gives you a lot of gold, and you know, you're a pirate, you love gold. And Pyke is just, you know, a super amazing snowball champion. Like, you can 2v8 games with a good Pyke, because just you and the Pyke can win team fights on their own. So yeah, recommend it. And I mean, it's a Bilgewater character. You know, the theme fits. Even though I think lore-wise, Pyke doesn't really like GP, but we don't care about that. The best supports to do a Q with, in my opinion, are Rakan, Bard, Seraphine, or Yuumi. Let's move on to the mid lane. So if you play top lane GP, having a very good mid laner as a duo Q is super valuable, because mid lane brings some of the best setup champions in the game. So let's start with 2 champions, Diana and Orianna. They have very similar ults, they both pull enemies in. And I think out of the 2, Diana is better, because usually Diana ult is a bit easier to hit than Orianna ult. And having Diana jump in with ult is a lot of distraction. People will focus Diana, so you can hit free barrels. And obviously pulling enemies together is just amazing. If they all are stacked up, you hit a barrel and you hit like 3 or 4 champions. It is super amazing. Same thing goes for Orianna though. I think both are very, very similar. And if you have a great engage in the jungle, Orianna can be better. But if it's just you and someone else against the world, Diana is the better choice. When it comes to follow-up and setup, we have Yone. Yone can do both very well. If you hit a good barrel, he can hit his ult very easy because they're slowed massively. But Yone can also set up amazing barrels for you with his ult, because, you know, the way it works is basically if he hits like 3 people, everyone is gonna get pulled to the last person he hit. So yeah, they're all gonna be stacked up and you can hit a nice barrel. Also, usually Yones play in a way that they hit an ult and then follow up with a knock-up, so they're kind of locked in position, so very easy barrels to hit. But yeah, both for setup and follow-up, Yone is an amazing pick. And also Yone is very strong, but he's also AD, so you have to get an AP somewhere else. Time to talk about 2 champions again, Malzahar and Lissandra. Those are both champions that whenever I have them in my team, I go Death's Daughter first. They both have point-and-click CC, which is amazing with Death's Daughter because you can just really focus down a single high-priority target. And I think Lissandra is a bit better than Malzahar, because Lissandra also brings the root on the W, and she's just very versatile. She can be your engaging force, which Malzahar cannot really be. He would just pop if he engages, but Lissandra has self-ult and root and healing and the double Zhonya's cheese. But yeah, Malzahar is also great for the reasons mentioned, you know, big single target focus. So yeah, both are great. Next champion is Veigar, and I'm only gonna say 4 words. Veigar's E, super toxic. Okay, after this super in-depth description of Veigar, I'm gonna move on to Galio. No, but jokes aside, Veigar is absolutely amazing. Like, his cage, his E, basically makes it so enemies either have to flash out or use an instant dash like Ezreal E to escape. You can instantly throw an ulti if you see someone caught in the cage, and the ulti itself is going to do a lot of damage, but also, since it's a very small area, you can set up barrels that just hit the whole area, and it has such a low cooldown because it's not even an ult. Like, Veigar can throw out a few cages in each fight usually, so Veigar is fantastic. Also, Veigar obviously, unlimited scaling, brings a lot of damage. Your W, or his W in combination with your barrels is going to pretty much cover the whole cage. So yeah, super great partner to have. But now let's actually move on to Galio. Galio is great for peel. He can ult you and you take less damage and everyone around you has a no fun zone. So yeah, he knocks people away from you. But also his taunt is amazing setup, because especially if he taunts melees, they're all gonna walk into him and you can hit a massive barrel on multiple champions. Also, he has a great CC chain by using his dash into his taunt, so even single target lockdown is pretty good. Galio is nice to have for sure. Also, he can roam. Like, if you play top lane GP, he's on your lane within a few seconds because of his ult. Next are follow-up champions, and the best one is Katarina in my opinion. I mean, Katarina is a champion that gets resets whenever she kills someone, and if you hit a massive barrel, she can just kill everyone you hit and get resets and basically get 2 ultis instantly in the fight. And there's just nothing the enemy can do at this point. Like, if Katarina kills 2 or 3 people with 1 ult and then instantly there's another ult, it's just a 1-team fight unless they interrupt Katarina. And that's the biggest weakness. If they have anything that is point and click CC, or, you know, like an Amumu, or anything really that can easily stun Katarina and kind of counter her massive mobility, it is kind of difficult. But I would still say Katarina is the best follow-up champion you can possibly have as GP. I want to talk about a champion that is very special, and that is Sylas. Sylas can literally be the best champion in the game for GP, because he literally can have every ulti in the game. So if the enemy has a very strong team that has great champions for GP, like Diana, Kai'Sa, Malphite, Amumu, you can pick Sylas and have multiple ults to your disposal that can really carry. Alright, I'm gonna move on to the probably best position to duo queue with, and that is jungle. I'm going to start with Lee Sin. Lee Sin is a great champion for peeling. Lee Sin can just kick enemies away whenever they are endangering you. Or you can obviously insec an ADC or something into your barrel. So yeah, Lee Sin is nice to have, but I think there are definitely better champions to duo queue with in jungle, and I'm gonna move to them now. Alright, an absolutely fantastic champion is Amumu. Amumu has everything you ever want and more. He has amazing CC on his Q, he has a frontline, and his ulti is obviously one of the best ults in the game for GP. It is an AoE stun that lets you basically hit 3 barrels, and with the recent changes of having 2 charges of the Q, Amumu can lock down a single enemy for, I think, like 4 seconds, which is super insane. Amumu is top tier. Next one is Jarvan. Jarvan can obviously ult and lock people with no mobility in his arena, and that basically results in 3 barrels, but Jarvan has some not so great points about him. First, he can obviously, you all know the meme, I'm Jarvan, I'm helping. He can lock you out of kills, he can lock himself in and die and you cannot reach. He can lock you in and kill you by locking you in. Like, Jarvan is a bit of a meme, but still, if executed correctly, he can be super, super good to have. Lilia. Lilia is also top tier. Lilia's sleep, if she hits multiple targets, can land you multiple barrel hits at once with a big combo. And when they are asleep and you hit a barrel, they take amplified damage. So your one-shots get even stronger, and Lilia is just fantastic to have. The ult on itself is already reason enough to have a Lilia. Fiddlesticks is obviously also an amazing pick. He also has mass AoE CC if he uses his ult out of out of sight. And he has a lot of damage as well. So he's another champion that can just carry games if the game doesn't go too well for you. And he's obviously amazing for setup. He's also pretty decent for follow-up, but they're definitely better follow-up jungles. But Fiddle is like another all-rounder, and he covers the AP damage for your team as well. So yeah, Fiddle, super nice. Now I'm going to talk about two champions again. Both of them are single-target lockdown champions that enable going Death's Daughter first. And those are Sejuani and Rammus. With the recent changes to GP and his Q counting as a ranged auto attack, Sejuani fell off quite a bit, because before then you could proc Sejuani's stun passive with your Q. Now that doesn't work anymore. But Sejuani obviously still has an amazing ult that can lock down a single target, and Rammus with the taunt can really annoy people and set up, again, high priority target damage combos. He himself has a lot of single target damage, and obviously if you hit a barrel into a Death's Daughter on a single target that is taunted by Rammus, they're probably dead. So yeah, those two great single target lockdown champions. For follow-up, I'm going to talk about two champions again, Kha'Zix and Master Yi. In my opinion, Master Yi is the better choice of the two, but Kha'Zix obviously on higher elos is probably a better pick for gameplay in general. But yeah, they both are kind of the same. You hit a barrel and they both can go in and basically clean up. Kha'Zix gets his jump resets and can destroy people that are low HP anyways. And Master Yi can just Alpha Strike, kill someone, and then Alpha Strike to the next, and basically just clean up whatever you killed already. So yeah, two great follow-up champions, but I think Master Yi is, generally speaking, a better choice. Alright, before I go to the best champions for each role and the overall best champion in my opinion, I'm going to talk about some champions that maybe are not that great to have, and those are Tahm Kench. He can eat the enemy that you're about to barrel, but he can also be amazing peel for you. So if executed well, Tahm Kench can actually be a very viable champion to team up with. But there's potential to fail and potential that he just counters you. So not so great. Same goes for Gragas. He can obviously do a lot. He has a lot of CC and a lot of disruption. But he can also knock people away from each other and completely knock people out of your combos. And that is obviously not great. But again, if executed well, it can work. Kindred, her ult can absolutely destroy you, because if you hit a barrel on someone in the Kindred ult, they will obviously live every time. And GP is not a champion that has amazing follow-up to barrels. If you're out of barrels, you are screwed. So having an enemy survive your combos due to an ulti of your own team is not amazing. So yeah, those three champions in my opinion are some of the not so great ones. But yeah, let's move on to the best of the best. So if I had to pick one or two champions on each role, those would be the ones. And those are for top lane, Malphite. For ADC, Kai'Sa. I value the follow-up a bit more than having an Ashe arrow. For mid lane, it's Diana and Katarina for setup and follow-up respectively. For support, it is Bard and Seraphine. Two amazing champions that can set up teamfights for you perfectly. And for jungle, it is Amumu Lilia for setup, and for follow-up, it's Master Yi. And the best champion in the game, in my opinion, to duo queue with, has to be Amumu. Amumu brings everything you want. He's a frontline. He locks down the whole enemy team in stuns. He has amazing single target lockdown. You can go APGP with Amumu quite well because, you know, his ult increases your damage done by your ulti because it turns it into true damage. And it's just massive AoE stun, so they will stay in your ulti for a while. And APGP is actually viable if the enemy have a good team for it, or if you have a good setup for it. So yeah, those are my opinions. I would recommend, if you look for a specific champion to duo queue with, just check out the subreddit of this champion. It's usually champion name mains, so for example r/Malphite mains or r/Wukong mains. And you'll probably just, you know, find people that might be down to team up with you. And again, thank you for the love and support I get for this channel. I really, really appreciate it. And check out my Twitch. I stream on twitch.tv/CaptainBattleAxe. It's in the description. And if you like the content, rate it with a like or dislike. Leave a comment and subscribe if you want to see more. And yeah, I appreciate it. Have a good one, and see you next time. And put video ideas in the comments. I appreciate it. Much love. Peace.